He's done it. One of the most divisive and polarising leaders in Australian politics has pulled off an historic third term of government. Blowing away his opposition, Daniel Andrews is now on track to become the longest-serving Labor Premier. Liberal
Friends, hope always defeats hate.
And Liberal leader Matthew Guy had zero choice but to concede last night, promising to do this.
We intend to, as you'd expect, hold the government in the next term to account.
He, of course, won't get that opportunity, announcing today he will quit as leader. It's a tough game, politics. Even when you win, when you lose, it's brutal. Outgoing Victorian Liberal MP Tim Smith knows this better than anyone. Tim, big weekend for you. Thank you so much for fronting up again tonight. Was it a bloodbath?
Well, good evening, Erin. Yes, it's a catastrophe. This is an absolute catastrophe for the Liberal Party in Victoria. This is our lowest primary vote tonight since the 1950s. We've gone backwards, quite possibly in terms of seats. And I can't put it any blunter. The scale of this defeat will ensure possibly that we're in opposition for another 8 years. I mean, if you think about it, at the moment, the Liberal and National parties probably have about 26 seats out of 88 in the lower house of the Victorian Parliament. To win a majority, we need 45. Well, winning that number of seats, 19 seats, 20 seats, in that order of magnitude by the time the count is finalised in the next week or so. Well, Jeff Kennett won 19 seats in 1992. I think Steve Bracks won 13 seats in 1999. The likelihood is that we won't win enough seats in 2026 to form government. So, I mean, I don't mean to be needlessly negative or a catastrophist, but that is the scale of the defeat that's gone on in Melbourne and indeed Victoria in the last 24 hours. And, the party needs to, for once, actually take responsibility for this, not blame the weather or the colour of the Corfoot or the federal party. The state parliamentary Liberal Party in Victoria must take responsibility for this defeat. It must not pass the buck and have a good hard look at itself. Both the Secretariat, which ran an absolutely terrible campaign, Sam McQuestion, the State Director, should go. He should go back to Tasmania right now and not come back. And the Parliamentary Party, the whole leadership team, not just Matthew Guy, should not be renominating for positions of leadership this week. They all should go.
I was watching I never watch TV series, but I was watching Vice last night about Dick Cheney in the White House, and it made me think about how many people behind the scenes need to be held to account for this, as you said, bloodbath. Can I ask you about Matthew Guy? We were talking today on the phone when I was asking you a little bit about what we do tonight, and you reminded me of the John Howard quote, which is, it's a great quote, "Love me or loathe me, the Australian people know where I stand and what I believe in." Did Matthew Guy not believe in anything or stand for anything?
Well, Erin, the great John Howard, everyone knew what he stood for. And I have to say, despite the fact that virtually everything that comes out of his mouth I disagree with, no one is under any illusions as to what Daniel Andrews stands for. You know, he is robust in his defence of his government, and we all know what he stands for. Now, Matthew Guy and the Liberals, well, what was the point of difference between the Labor Party and the Liberal Party at this state election? Well, it was the suburban rail link. That's it. That's it. One piece of infrastructure. Nothing else. Not climate, not energy. There was a few cost of living policies that the coalition announced far too late in the day. But there was no real difference, no point of difference. And in fact, after the federal election, for the most part, the Liberal Party spent a few months trying to placate Teal voters in seats like Kew and Hawthorn and Caulfield and Brighton. That's great, and I'm delighted that we've held onto those seats, but the cost of holding onto those seats is that we have won nothing, or very few seats in the outer suburbs. Very few, and we've lost seats to the Labor Party. Lost seats to the Labor Party in the middle and outer suburbs. We've only tonight definitely won one seat off the Labor Party after the world's longest lockdown.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I mean, let's just put this in perspective. I mean, it's actually unbelievable.
It is. It is. And you wrote an article.
It's so bad.
In the UK press, that said exactly that. I cannot fathom how this occurs. You said your home state had been ruined by the world's longest lockdown and the most bonkers hard left government Australia has seen for decades. Yet Daniel Andrews has still won and is still the Premier for another 4 years. Who takes over leadership of the Liberal Party in Victoria?
Well, look, I don't know, and I'm no longer a member of the Parliamentary Liberal Party, so, of course, I'm not getting any phone calls anymore from people wanting my vote for, the caravan moves on in politics very, very quickly, as you know. So, look, I understand through media reports that Brad Batten is going to put his hand up. He challenged Michael O'Brien for the leadership in early 2021. John Pizzuto, when he was last a Member of Parliament in 2018, certainly indicated interest back then, so it wouldn't surprise me that he ran. Richard Reardon will probably run. There could be a cast of thousands. Well, there's not a cast of thousands in the party room at all, but there could be quite a few people that put their hand up. But look, what we actually need, and I make this point very seriously, is the likelihood of the next Liberal leader becoming the Premier of Victoria is, you'd have to say on the balance of probabilities, quite low. What we need is for someone to steady the ship, to get the house in order, to be an elder statesman, if you like, to get the Secretariat campaign ready. And we need someone who is going to be there for the long haul. And I hope that all aspirants for the leadership realise that we have significant structural issues, both in the Parliamentary Party, which has done virtually no policy work now for goodness knows how long. Yep. As well as the Secretariat, which is just not campaign ready. And look, I think that there is a huge task ahead to get this party government ready.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. Brilliant job over the weekend as well with all your coverage here on Sky, and best of luck. Tim Smith, thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Thanks, Erin.